Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 2. Let me introduce member of Group 2. With myself is Aidah Salma. The student ID number is 41014200081. With my friends are Febriana with student ID number 41014200102. And the last is Sofiana Nurul Islami with the student's ID number is 41014200123. Okay, we will prove the equilateral triangle theorems. So, if each side of the triangle has one hash mark, we know that the three sides are congruent. And we should recognize that every equilateral triangle is also an isosceles triangle. Remember, an isosceles triangle has at least two congruent sides. Now, the equilateral triangle theorem tells us that all equilateral triangles are also equiangular. So if we have an equilateral triangle where we have three congruent sides, then the theorem tells us that the angles are also congruent. Let's prove the theorem. Given AB is equal to AC, and which is also equal to BC. And we want to prove angle A is congruent to angle B, which is also congruent to angle C. So if all the sides have the same length, or it's an equilateral triangle, the triangle would also be equiangular. Let's start by studying the given. The first statement is triangle ABC is equilateral, and this is by given. And the second statement is side AB is congruent to side AC, and also side AB is congruent to side BC, and also side AC is congruent to side BC, and this is by definition of congruent segment. Now, if all these have the same length, then they would also be congruent. Let's go ahead and state that AB is equal to AC, also equal to BC. And this is by definition of equilateral triangle. So if all of the sides are congruent, then triangle ABC would be an equilateral triangle. Now, as we said just a minute ago, every equilateral triangle is also an isosceles triangle, and we just proved the isosceles triangle theorem that tells us. If two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the opposite angles are congruent. So if side AB is congruent to side AC, that is angle C is opposite side AB, and angle B is opposite side AC. We know that angle B must be congruent to angle C. Sorry, I repeat again. We know that angle B must be congruent to angle C. It's also true that if side AB is congruent to side BC, then we know that angle A is congruent to angle B. Notice the letter of the angle is the vertex that's not endpoint of the side, and the reason for this is the isosceles triangle theorems. And the next, angle A would be congruent to angle C. This is by substitution. And the next is angle A is congruent to angle B, which is also congruent to angle C. This is by property of congruence. Note, the first congruent segment are segments that have the same length. Equilateral triangle is a triangle in which all three sides have the same length, and the isosceles triangle theorem states if the sides of a triangle are congruent, then angles opposite those sides are congruent. I think enough from us. I apologize if I have mistakes. And thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.